Hello everyone, I hope you all having a good day wherever you are on this wonderful world of ours. Today, as you see, I'm going to talk about the NBA. I want to know, or do you know, how did the NBA teams get their names? As you know, there are 30 plus teams in the NBA, and each team, like in every sport or every team sport, has a unique name. So, in this little episode of my YouTube channel, let's delve into where, how, and who, if we can find out all those three questions, gave the NBA teams their unique, distinctive names. Alright, so let's go over this little excerpt that I got off the internet. Title, NBA team names. One might not know it from just a casual glance, but history has played a big part in the naming of most of the NBA franchises. History has played a big part in the naming of those teams. So you know they have a team. You just don't walk into the room or the boardroom and just scream out one name. You know they have to debate which name sounds the most appealing to us and the fans for these unique teams. Many of the NBA franchises get their names for their cities' historical past. So, most of the team names are based in some way to the team's city's historical past. It can be distant past or recent past, but it's based on the past, or from a city in which the team first originated, as we saw. So most teams got the name from the city that they came from. This is especially true with teams who entered the league after 1949. So after 1949, some teams began to name their team name after the city. But even those teams have some history behind their name. So we're going to start and see for each team. I believe in the NBA, there are 30 plus teams. And I think I have 30 plus teams listed on here. If I made some type of typo, some error, please let me know if I have forgotten your favorite team. Now, I live here in Baltimore, Maryland. We used to have an NBA team called the Baltimore Bullets, but now they are in Washington, D.C., and he got rid of the name Bullets and changed it to the Wizards. So technically, in the city I am, I have no NBA team, so I could make a mistake in naming all of the team. So let's start right now. The first team in alphabetical order is the Boston Celtics. The name Celtics refers to Boston's Irish American population. Many Irish believe they are ancestors of the ancient Druid people called the Celts. The team's logo and mascot also reflect the Irish connection, as it's a traditional symbol of Ireland, the leprechaun. And that's here, we see the little leprechaun. And for the Boston Celtics, their name is one of the most identified franchises in sports. And their name, you know what that Celtics mean, is that ancient European cult or clan of individuals. Charlotte Hornets. The Carolinas, which includes North Carolina and South Carolina, were invaded by the British in the Revolutionary War. So we see North Carolina, South Carolina, they go way back in American history. And during one such invasion, the British stepped into a trap laid by the Americans, and a British general said it was like a hornet's nest. Oh, I never knew that. So the Hornets the Hornets name came from that invasion of the British into the Carolinas. The name Hornets won out of a contest held to name the team in 1987. Like I said, you just don't come up with a team, one person. It's usually a panel of individuals who make up those team names. When the original Hornets first started playing in Charlotte. The name was returned to Charlotte after the New Orleans team became the Pelicans. Chicago Bulls. On the surface, the name Bulls may seem very generic. Understand? Because Bulls are everywhere. Oklahoma, New Jersey, New York, New Mexico, Texas. Bulls are everywhere. So that's why it's generic. But it's not. Chicago was the hub, or the central location, of the meatpacking industry during the late 19th and early 20th century. I never knew that. So that's where they got the name Bulls from, because it was the central hub of the meatpacking industry. Texas Longhorns will be taken by rail from Abilene and Dodge City to Chicago for slaughter and then distribution around the country. For a long time, the city boasted the largest stockyard in the world. There we go. Now we know why they called the Chicago Bulls. They was one of the pillars of the meat packing industry in the 19th and 20th century. Cleveland Cavaliers. The team Cavalier refers to someone who supported the Royalists during the English Civil War. Okay, we're going back to Americans' history. The most likely derivative for the name of the team may be a corruption of the word chevalier, which is a French cavalryman. One very famous cavalryman was a George A. Custer, leader of the massacred 7th Cavalry at Little Bighorn. Custer was born in Ohio. Again, we see it has some type of English and some French origin for the name Cavaliers. Dallas Mavericks. Despite popular belief, Mavericks is not a horse. The team was first given to stubborn Longhorns, but then was quickly applied to those who wrangled the beast. Texas has a long, important history of cattle drives, and this is where the Mavericks get their name from. The lone cowboy on the plain. Denver Nuggets. Before the modern team, there was an original NBA team called the Nuggets. Okay. Both teams take their name from the Colorado Gold Rush of 1859. And we know that if you live in America, from just nothing named Nuggets, it has something to do with that gold rush. But it still had a name back in antiquity, 1859. So far we see a lot of these NBA teams got their name from distant past roots. Detroit Pistons. Originally the Fort Wayne Zola Pistons, oh that's a long name. The team's name comes from team owner Frank Zola's Piston Manufacturing Company. Wow. Yeah, so dealing with the auto industry. As the name Pistons, dealing with something auto. Car, trucks, vans, motorcycles. Though, by some strange twist of fate, the name still greatly applies to the team, as Detroit is one of the leading manufacturers of automobiles in the world. Golden State Warriors. Previously known as the San Francisco and Philadelphia Warriors, so they came from Philadelphia and San Francisco. The team name is likely just a generic name, so they just make it up, because you know Warriors are everywhere. We got Native American Warriors, we got Celtic Warriors, we have Egyptian Warriors, we have Muslim Warriors, so it's just a generic term. But it may have a historically connection with the Delaware Indians, who inhabited the area before British colonialists displaced them. So they got kicked out their own land, huh? Houston Rockets. One of the most ironic name twists in sports history belongs to the Rockets. The Rockets were originally the San Diego Rockets, another city, which was just a generic name. But the team got a new twist on its name when it moved to Houston, home of Nash's Mission Control. So before, when it was in San Diego, they were still called the Rockets, but the Panthers probably chose the name because it sounded nice. But when they moved to Houston, the name Rockets became more important because it was NASA's Mission Control Central Hub. And that's how most people think of it now, dealing with the space program in America. Indiana Pacers. Not many people know what a pacer is, but the name is very important in the history of Indianapolis. A pacer is a car which comes out and sets the pace during a red flag in the Indianapolis 500. So the Indiana Pacers, their name has roots in that's I believe worldwide car racing sport called the Indianapolis 500. I never thought of that myself, the Pacers. I never thought it did with the car, with those racing. Los Angeles Clippers. A clipper is a long sailing ship from the 19th century. So wow, see we got the Clippers. I never even thought of that name, Clippers. It came from those long sailing ships in the 19th century. The team got its name after it moved to San Diego from Buffalo in 1979. San Diego is a very important port city. It has been for many centuries. Many clipper ships from South America docked in San Diego and other California ports during the 1849 gold rush. I think that it's like the 18th or early 19th century was very important to the NBA, doesn't it? 19th century, historically wise. Los Angeles Lakers. To the casual fan, this name makes absolutely no sense. True. But once you realize the team originally played in Minneapolis, it starts making a lot more sense. Because I think Indianapolis has a lot of lakes there. Lakers are large ships found on the Great Lakes. Oh, so it's named after the ships, not the lakes. Let me read it again. Lakers are large ships found on the Great Lakes. Minnesota has a coastline with Lake Superior, a lake. Another variation of the name may be from Minnesota being known as the land of 10,000 lakes. So when you think of the Los Angeles Lakers, go to that root of Minnesota. And that's where they got their name. So when they went to LA, they still kept the name Lakers. Memphis Grizzlies. Okay, that's self-explanatory. We know that a grizzly bear. Mostly a generic leftover from when the team moved from Vancouver. Yes, before they moved to Memphis, like many other teams you saw or we read about, came from other territories, primarily in the United States. But the Grizzlies originated from the province of Canada, or the country of Canada, and its province was called Vancouver. But the Pacific Northwest was a popular place for bear hunting in the past. So it's still applicable to Memphis because they had bear hunting in the past. Miami Heat. Okay, that's self-explanatory. Miami is a hot place. A generic name referring to the warm temperatures of South Florida region. As I said, heat and Florida go hand in hand. Milwaukee Bucks. That's a generic term too. A generic name with little historical significance. For instance, I live in the United States. All throughout the United States, we have deer. I believe, I could be wrong. Because I'm not an animal expert, but I believe the male deer is called a buck. And every state in the United States had them deers and had those bucks. So it is a generic term. It can apply to any state here in America. That is. Minnesota Timberwolves. Okay, that's another generic term. It applies to the region. Wolf hunting was a popular sport in the early 20th century, but this name appears to be mostly generic. So they chose Minnesota. Love to hunt for wolves. They have many wolves there, many timber wolves, so they got that name, Timberwolves. And remember, it wasn't just one person. It probably was a panel of people who tested how popular the name was, and then they chose it. New Orleans Pelicans. A generic name. A generic name was taken after the Hornets was given back to Charlotte. Louisiana is home to a large number of swamps and bayous where pelicans frequent. So New Orleans got the name pelicans from the indigenous animal bird population that live in its region, the pelican. But I think most teams they like to have a dangerous creature as their mascot, like Timberwolves, bulls, sharks. A pelican, I don't think of them as being fierce and ferocious, but they are ferocious with those fish. A fish take the pelicans very seriously, but other creatures take them for a joke. Brooklyn Nets. Alright, a generic basketball term. For instance, it could be named after a basketball net. It could be named after the tennis net. It could be named after the volleyball net. You get my point. Net is a generic term. You can take it from any of those sports. Tennis, basketball, volleyball, on and on, wherever they have those nets at. New York Knicks. Now let's see where they get that term Knicks from, because that's very unique. Not many people know what Knicks really means. Knicks is a shortening of the word knickerbockers. I knew that. Which were a type. Now this is the part I didn't know. Which were a type of pants. Okay, knickerbockers was a type of pants worn by Dutch immigrants in the late 19th and early 20th century. So now we know. Knicks means knickerbockers, and knickerbockers were pants worn by the Dutch immigrants in New York City. Oklahoma City Thunder. That's just another generic term. We know that. Thunder was chosen because of the large... Okay, now that's important. Let me read it again. Thunder was chosen because of the large number of thunderstorms in the Great Plains. Okay, so that makes sense. We all had thunderstorms all over the planet. But in Oklahoma City, they may have an exorbitant number of thunderstorms. Orlando Magic. The Magic got its name after the Disney World theme park located in Orlando. So this is the first time that in my reading, that it seemed like a team was named after some type of place, a location. I could be wrong, but so far in my reading, it never came from a place. It was like either weather related or a thing, like a piston, a net. That's the first time it's named after a place where people can go to and socialize. Philadelphia 76ers. Let's see where he got the name 76ers from. Named in honor of the men who signed the Declaration of Independence on July the 4th, 1776 in Philadelphia. So now we know 76's name is tied to the Declaration of Independence, which was signed in the year of 1776. Phoenix Suns. That's another generic name which we understand, especially if you live here in the United States. You understand about Phoenix. A generic name referring to hot temperatures of Arizona. Yes, that's why they got the name Sun, because it's hot in that area, blazing hot. Portland Trail Blazers. Portland was the end of the Oregon Trail. Okay, there we go. Trail, end of the Oregon Trail. A trail which brought millions of people into the American West. A trailblazer was someone who opened up the route for the wagons to travel upon. So they were the first one who made that little path. If you ever travel on a dirt road, a trailblazer is the person who made that little dirt path while the grass is gone. This person was usually a former fur trapper who knew the area very well. So now we know about Portland and their team named Trailblazer, where it came from. See, this is very illuminating. Right. Sacramento Kings. A generic term referring to a monarch, but no real American historical connections. Because if you live in the United States, we do not have no monarch here. We are based on the democratic principle of electing our leaders. We do not have a royal line here where we have a king, a queen, a prince, dukes, earls. We do not have that. Everything that we got, all of our officials are elected from the general population. So this definitely don't apply to nothing with the kings. They just chose the name king out the clear blue sky with the committee. They never had a king in that area, that state. San Antonio Spurs. Spurs are sharp objects worn on boots to control horses. So it's not a bone spur. It's a spur to control that horse. While it doesn't have any historical connection to San Antonio and is mostly generic, it does have a connection back to Texas cattle days of 1860s, 1870s, and 1880s. So Spurs does not apply to San Antonio in particular, but it does apply to the state in which San Antonio resides, which is Texas, which had a lot of cattle back in that early 19th century. Seattle Supersonics. May you rest in peace, Seattle. So I still have to include you. Names are because of the large Boeing aircraft plant in the area. Supersonics, traveling at supersonic speed. I heard that Seattle, they are planning on reestablishing an NBA team again. That remains to be seen. Oh, and see, we got Kevin Durant. I never knew he played in Seattle. I always associate him with Oklahoma City. So before the Seattle moved, the Supersonics moved to Oklahoma City, Kevin Durant did actually play in that prospective United States city. Toronto Raptors. Let's see where he got that name from. Named after the dinosaur in the Jurassic Park movies. No historical connection at all. But I'm sure a couple million years ago, Raptors was running around Toronto. But I'm not sure, because Toronto's in that Canada, and I don't know if those reptiles like that cold weather. I don't know. I know reptiles like warm climates. Utah Jazz. The name Jazz stuck with the team when it moved from New Orleans, which is a jazz music city. New Orleans is the jazz capital of the world, as I mentioned a few seconds ago. Most, if not all, great jazz musicians began their careers in New Orleans. So, the jazz has no significance to Utah. And I'm sure they have jazz bands in Utah. There are jazz players there. But New Orleans is the world mecca for jazz. So, Utah was kind to New Orleans. They said, we're going to keep the name Jazz. And plus, it sounds nice, too. Last but not least, Washington Wizards. Wizards is a generic term picked after public pressure forced the team to change its name from Bullets to Wizards. And you know why? Because bullets are associated with guns. And back in the 1990s, Americans was tired of hearing about people getting shot with guns. And I think, I'm not sure everybody, but I think the Bullets actual logo was a bullet flying through the air. I think it was an actual bullet shot from some type of artillery device, a gun, a tank, or whatever. It was a bullet. A symbol. A symbol of death and destruction and killing. Oh, I remember I said earlier the bullets came from Baltimore. I wonder why here in Baltimore, Maryland, did we choose the name Bullets? Why did we choose the name Bullets? A symbol of death and destruction and mayhem that results in blood coming from the living organism. But let me read this again. Wizards is a generic term picked after public pressure forced the team to change its name from Bullets to Wizards. I know why they probably changed it to Wizards, because Wizards sounds so passive, so sweet, and so nice. Bullets sound dangerous and deadly. A wizard, he's an old man with a long beard and a funny little hat on his head. He make little children laugh. Bullets was chosen after a shoe company in the area. So, we're at the conclusion of our discussion about how NBA teams got their names. If you like what I went over, please give me a thumbs up. If you would like to subscribe to my channel for future content I will put on it, please subscribe. Please, 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 please give a comment. If I omitted any team, if I made an error, if I said something wrong, please correct me. Please give me your input in the comment section. If you are already a subscriber and you would like immediate notification of new content, please click on that bell button. You all have a wonderful day. Goodbye.